You're about to witness one of the most compelling examples of standing up for your rights. Picture this: a woman, calm and confident, face to face with a group of police officers during a routine stop. But here's the twist: she doesn't back down, doesn't stutter, and she knows her rights like the back of her hand. What happens next? She turns the situation on its head, schooling the officers in the laws they're supposed to uphold. This isn't just another First Amendment audit. It's a masterclass in how to handle yourself when questioned by authority, especially when it comes to your right to refuse identification. It's not aggressive or confrontational. It's about standing firm and being informed. But the question remains, how will the officers react? Will they respect her stance or escalate the situation? Stick around to see every moment unfold, as this woman demonstrates how to handle high-pressure situations with grace and composure. If you've ever wondered how to stand your ground and protect your rights, this is the story for you. The tension is real, and the lessons are invaluable. Let's dive in. The story begins on an ordinary day, with a quiet street and a seemingly routine police encounter. The woman, calm but alert, knows exactly what's at stake. Her demeanor isn't confrontational, but her confidence is undeniable. She's been through situations like this before, enough to know the law and how to navigate these interactions. With a steady voice, she asks the officers a simple question: "Am I being detained, or am I free to go?" The officers, caught off guard by her composure, hesitate for a moment. They start asking for her ID, but she politely reminds them of her rights. "Unless I'm suspected of committing a crime, I don't have to provide that," she explains, her tone firm yet respectful. The officers exchange glances, clearly not expecting someone so well informed. But instead of backing down, they double down, asking more probing questions. The tension in the air thickens. Pedestrians begin to take notice, some stopping to watch the unfolding scene. Why was she stopped in the first place? What happens if the officers refuse to acknowledge her rights? The situation feels like it could tip either way, and everyone's waiting to see how it unfolds. As the crowd slowly gathers, the woman stands her ground, her calm energy a stark contrast to the growing unease among the officers. One of them steps forward, his voice firm but slightly shaky. "We just need to verify who you are. It's a routine procedure." She doesn't flinch. "Respectfully, officer, that's not how the law works. Unless you can articulate reasonable suspicion that I've committed a crime, I'm not required to provide my identification." Her words are deliberate, carefully chosen to assert her rights without escalating the situation. One officer glances at another, as if silently asking for backup in this verbal standoff. Meanwhile, the crowd whispers among themselves. Some seem supportive, nodding as she speaks. Others exchange worried looks, wondering how far this will go. The woman's confidence doesn't come out of nowhere. Through subtle hints in her calm demeanor, it's clear she's prepared for this moment. She's read the laws, watched similar encounters, and knows exactly how to navigate the situation. But the officers, unwilling to admit defeat, shift their strategy. They ask her where she's coming from, where she's headed, probing for any detail to justify their actions. The tension rises. Will this turn into a victory for accountability? Or something else entirely? The questioning intensifies, but the woman doesn't falter. Her calm but assertive responses create a standoff that's as tense as it is captivating. The lead officer takes a step closer, his tone sharper now. "We're just trying to do our job here. Cooperation goes a long way." She meets his gaze, unwavering. "And I respect that, officer, but my rights don't disappear for the sake of convenience. If I'm not being detained, I'd like to continue on my way." The crowd is fully invested now, murmurs growing louder. Some are recording on their phones, capturing every second of the encounter. A man in the back of the group calls out, "She's right. You can't demand ID without suspicion." The officers glance toward the voices, but stay focused on her, clearly torn between their authority and the weight of the law she's reminding them of. The lead officer's frustration is palpable, but he hasn't backed down. Another officer steps forward, trying a softer approach. "Look, we're not here to cause trouble. Just tell us who you are, and this can all be over." The woman takes a deep breath, her voice steady but firm. "That's not how this works. I know my rights, and I intend to stand by them." The energy in the air is electric. It feels like everything is about to come to a head, but no one knows which way it will break. Will the officers de-escalate, or will the situation take a turn no one wants? Just as the standoff reaches a boiling point, a voice from the crowd cuts through the tension. "I know her," a man steps forward, holding up his phone. "She's a legal advocate. I've seen her on social media." His words send a ripple through the gathering, and for a moment, the officers hesitate. The revelation adds an unexpected twist, shifting the dynamic entirely. The lead officer looks visibly unsettled now. The woman doesn't confirm or deny the claim, instead keeping her composure. Whether or not that's true doesn't change anything, she says, addressing both the officers and the crowd. "We all have the same rights. The question is whether they'll be respected." The officers exchange uneasy glances. The man who spoke up holds his phone higher, recording every word and movement. "It's all live now," he says, as if reminding everyone that this moment isn't just playing out here. It's being broadcast to the world. Suddenly, a senior officer arrives on the scene, summoned by the growing commotion. He surveys the situation, his expression unreadable, and walks straight to the woman. "What's going on here?" he asks, his tone calm but authoritative. The stakes couldn't be higher now. Will the senior officer diffuse the tension or escalate it further? Everyone holds their breath, waiting to see how this new development will change the game. The senior officer takes a long look at the scene, his team, the crowd, the woman standing firm. There's a moment of silence, the kind that feels like the world itself is holding its breath. He turns to the lead officer and quietly asks, "What's the basis for this stop?" The lead officer hesitates, stumbling over his words. We were just conducting a routine check, sir." She refused to provide ID. The senior officer's expression hardens. Is there reasonable suspicion she's committed a crime? The officer shakes his head slightly, his confidence visibly crumbling. The senior officer steps toward the woman, his voice measured. "Ma'am, it appears my team may have overstepped here. You're free to go." But just as relief washes over the crowd, the woman surprises everyone. "Thank you, but before I leave, I'd like to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. These rights protect all of us, and they deserve to be respected." The senior officer pauses, clearly caught off guard. After a moment, he nods. "You're right. We'll review this incident." As the crowd cheers softly, the woman turns to leave. But as she walks away, a small, satisfied smile crosses her face. In her hand is her phone, still recording. The final twist. She had been live streaming the entire encounter herself, ensuring the lesson reached far beyond that street. As the woman walked away, the crowd slowly began to disperse, some still murmuring about what they had just witnessed. It wasn't just about her knowledge of the law. It was about the way she carried herself, calm and collected, even in the face of pressure. A few people stopped her to offer words of support, and she responded with a grateful smile, reminding them, knowing your rights is the first step. Standing by them is the second. The officers regrouped quietly, and the senior officer could be seen talking to his team, likely addressing the incident and its fallout. The man from the crowd, who had spoken up earlier, waved her down before she left. "You handled that like a pro," he said. "People need to see more of this." As she reached her car, she ended her live stream with a final thought for her viewers. This wasn't about confrontation, it was about education. Accountability goes both ways, and it's important to stay informed and stay respectful. The incident ended as peacefully as it could have, but its impact rippled far beyond that street. For those who watched, it wasn't just a moment. It was a reminder of the power of knowledge and composure.